In a court of law, we are required to swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Now that may seem like such a simple thing to do. We may just say to ourselves, well, a lie is a lie is a lie. But what if we can say something, yet the words we use have incorrectness built into them? And so we can say something that's partially true, and yet within the words used, there is a premise or two incorrect. And so you can say a truth and a non-truth using a word or a set of words. And I think this is one of the biggest problems with words, as opposed to what you might call pictures. Hence you have to wonder if societies progress all that much to get to a stage of literacy versus a pre-literate society. For instance, the Cherokee Indians and the gentleman who invented the language for them. What was his name? Sacagawea? Or perhaps the name was Sequoyah. Take, for instance, if we were to describe somebody of a different nationality by using a word that is considered a slur word, or a word that would be called a hate crime even to use, we might properly identify the person from some other country with this slur word, and yet at the same time tell a mistruth by using the slur word, because it conveys a mistruth of a core nature about that person. So the word conveys a truth and a non-truth at the same time in one little package. So a word, basically, in my book, is a package of comments, not just one comment about a single trait, all too often, especially when it comes to people. So you might say a word about people can convey not just a distinguishing factor about people like their skin color or race, but it can also convey value judgments, what we think of their worth. And finally, one of the biggest issues too, I believe, is a word about people conveys how we think they impacted someone, especially in the negative direction. Was it by choice, i.e. free will, or was it by what they call determinism or fate, i.e. that it couldn't have happened any other way? I would say every word we use almost with people has this latter component built into it. As well, probably many words conveying a value judgment. Is this person of great value? To whom? And in the short term or long term? So, if we are said to tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, that may be one thing about telling the truth about a car or car part or tree or rock. But when it comes to people, to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth seems much more complicated, because every word we utter about people, almost every word it seems, conveys added comments like, what is the value of such a person? To whom? And in the short term or long term as to this value? And secondly, is the impact of that person by the person's choice, or was it inevitable? Hence, you might say, when Mr. Nixon was convicted, or when Mr. Nixon was pointed out to have had connections with Watergate, he said, "I'm not a crook." I believe he said this because he was conveying that what he had an impact upon was not by choice. It was by determined fashion, the laws of cause and effect. And thus, technically speaking, he was like Patty Hearst, who was debated upon as to whether she had chosen to participate in a bank robbery or whether she had no choice, basically, all things considered. And I think then that's why on TV news talk shows we can see both parties, both sides, saying that each other is a liar and that they're, quote, full of lies. Because while they may say some things that are truthful, the very words have mistruths, almost inevitably, I would say, built into them. And so, yes, until we reinvent our words concerning people, I think we will continue, as one philosopher said, to have words that are clumsy, and that words can very easily deceive us, at the same time as conveying some truthful component. I would say thus likewise, to simply say, "The truth shall set you free," may sound wonderful and something to follow, but again, is it very easy to say truths about people when the very words we use convey a truth often and a mistruth at the same time, because the words have built into them certain premises all too often that are incorrect when we talk about people. Something to consider here from a person whose father has a PhD in English literature and had a strong impact upon me in English, in writing, and later in study of words. And one of the books I've written is The Tyranny of Words in the Western World.